Hello and welcome to today's LOL Esports Roundup, where we cover the three final series from Worlds 2023 Swiss Stage Round 5. Predictions, I went 3-0 on the day. Got all the game scores inaccurately, but got the right team, so we're 36-10. Recap. And if you want to participate in predictions going forward for the rest of Worlds, quarters, semis, and finals, join the Discord. It's all on there, and things like that. So, first, KTD plus. KT win 2-0. Dominant against D plus all year long. I think they're now at least in summer now 7-0 against D plus. Aiming 15-1, 13, 34% of damage was my MVP. He played Zeri both games. Keen 7-4, 17. Deft 7-5, 12, 32% of damage in the loss. D plus this entire tournament took their win con, which is Canyon, and put him on facilitators. And put Kana on carry-oriented champions top lane. I understand Rumble is OP. Your best player is still Canyon. So putting him on Jarvan for both games, when you need him to set a pace over Cuz, is pretty massive. So D plus actually were efficient in the early game, don't get me wrong, like Canyon was making plays and things like that on the Jarvan. But when the mid to late game occurred, and their gold is not on Jarvan anymore, and Jarvan is just a bot at that point, just trying to, a CC bot, and Kana has all this gold on Rumble, well, he's getting outpaced by Keen, who's playing Ryze, because Keen is capable of doing that. And then Aiming is just getting massive on the Zeri, and carries team fights. And in game 2, he Flame Horizon Deft. Now, it was a 45-minute game pretty much, so that's going to happen sometimes when a game goes that long. I mean, 540 CS or some shit, like absolutely insane. BDD, making things happen, where Showmaker not as much in the mid to late game. However, like I said when I just started this little spiel, D plus did have the advantage. In game 1, they were massively ahead. They had Soul. They were about to take Baron. Cuz steals that. KT makes some plays. KT find opportunities to take Elder. I think they took 2 Elders in game 1 to get the job done. Game 2, they were very good as well in the mid to late game. And it's actually something that KT had lacked against those LPL teams we saw earlier on in Swiss stage, where they start off good, but then mid to late game lose. So it was different in this one. It's just mind-boggling that they have Canyon on Jarvan. I mentioned in the chat because, it isn't a very carry-oriented jungle meta. I'll give that person their credit for saying that in the Discord. However, the Taliyah, we saw flexed a little bit, and I'm not saying it's meta in jungle at all, but it's one of Canyon's best champions over his entire career. He's played it like 13 times, and I think he's like 11-2 on it, or 10-3 or something like that, like 12, 13. Yeah, like just absolutely great KDA, great win rate. Hasn't lost on it since February of 2020, so he hasn't lost it since COVID. I mean, as in like literally pre-COVID was when he last lost on the champion. And they're putting him on J4, which is his worst champion. It is his highest champion in his pool over his career with like a coin flip or worse win rate. Like, it's not his thing. So that's not great. And bot lane aiming Lehens. Lehens finds opportunities to make plays on the Nautilus. Did he die 9 times? Yes. He had a terrible KDA, but that's the nature of the beast when you're a support and you go in just to create CC and die. He did his job very well. As far as everything else is concerned, I mean, D plus are out. A team that I thought could win Worlds before the season even began, and in the end, it just wasn't the case. Their coaching is just not it. Acorn is their coach, I believe, and Acorn, this was his first international run, and Acorn's been around for a little while, so for that to be the case is actually like a big deal. Like, what's going on here? Like, why did we choose Acorn instead of Gorilla or Bubbling, who they have also? Excuse me, another talk for another day. Fnatic Weibo win this one 2-1. It was not easy. Light 16-3-12, 29% of damage. Crisp 5-5-27 was my MVP. I think you can make a case for either. 21, 8, and 39 combined. Humanoid 4, 10, and 12, 32% of damage in the loss. Game 1, Fnatic set the pace. Razork was ahead of Weiwei, making things happen efficiently, and then Noah carried in team fights along with Trimby, and they did a lot of work. Game 1 was in their favor. But I will say, the Shy, I thought throughout this series, did very well. Even in Game 1, inting his face off a bit, he opened up a massive lead on Oscarinen. But in Game 2, that steam left Oscarinen's, I don't know, engine, whatever. I mean, honestly, let's just take that, whatever metaphor, and throw it in the garbage. The Shy really got ahead of Oscarinen. And that was a big diffie. And then that diffie would just spill over elsewhere. Bot lane in games 2 and 3, 4, Weibo really took over in team fights. Light was excellent and Chris was excellent. In game 3, they went Caitlyn Lux. Like that's a statement. Going Caitlyn Lux is a statement. That is, we are going to carry this game off the rip and we're going to carry it through, and that's what happened. As the game was close for a while in game 2 and then in game 3 with Caitlyn Lux, we saw that Crisp was getting really involved, more so than anybody else on the team, which is why I ended up picking him as MVP. I thought his Game 3 performance was integral to them winning Game 3. A lot of people don't respect KP. I do. I think it's important to note who is around the fights, who maybe is making the shot calls to make those fights is who's around it. So, Crisp did some big things in Game 3 on the Lux. And Fnatic just, I mean, in the end, Noah is a patient ADC, passive ADC as well. Humanoid dying a lot. I mean, there was one moment, actually in Game 2, this is where it turned, because Fnatic actually were setting a pace in Game 2 as well. Razork was up-tempo on Weiwei. I think that is almost undeniable in those first 2 games. But Humanoid ints and recalls in the middle of lane, gets killed, gives Xiaohu some gold, gives Weiwei some momentum, and then Weibo started taking over from there. And then in Game 3, it was rather lopsided in Weibo's favor. And Fnatic really didn't have an answer for that. Now, Fnatic, obviously, this, for a lot of people, if you told them 3 months ago that this is what Fnatic would have been, or let's say even after MSI, Fnatic would be at Worlds, and they would be playing for an opportunity to go to quarterfinals in a best of 3 and go to Game 3 against Weibo, everybody would have said you are clearly in need of medication. Like, that is some wild shit you're spewing. And the fact that they're here was impressive enough. They came close and just fell short. BLG G2, BLG went 2-1. Had BLG winning this one after their performances yesterday and both teams playing like garbage. In the end, BLG is going to be the better team with hands when it comes to a best of 3. Now, Elk led the way in damage, going 11, 8, 26, 36% of damage. On at support, 1, 4, and 42. So the bot lane went 12, 12, and 68. Elk doesn't luck into the last hits, but on, that's huge. Yesterday, he inted his face off against T1, a big reason why BLG struggled. Today, massively important to the team's success. Hansama, 13, 9, 8, 26% of damage and loss. That kind of goes to show you the damage spread on G2. Nobody really taking over. Bin was my MVP. I thought he gapped Broken Blade in all 3 games. Now, people are going to say, oh, the bot lane, or I thought Shun did excellent setting paces in the early game, in Game 1 and Game 3. Yagao played like absolute dog in Game 2, and that gave G2 an opportunity. You know, a lot of, we talked about on the Discord, and some felt like Elk threw that game, but honestly, Elk is the only reason they were in that game, in my opinion. Yagao had given so much gold and just power over to G2 throughout that one that, in my opinion, Yagao just was disgusting in that one. But that's beside the point. Clearly, putting Yagao on Jace is a mistake from the coaching staff. But Shun really doing well, outpacing Yike. Game 2, G2 find a way to win that one. They threw it away and found a way to get it done as Hansama and team fights came through big. Mickey on the Lysandra in Game 2 finding opportunities. And that was huge because, honestly, BLG were so much better. Bin was just, like I said, Bin was gapping Broken Blade. Bin was all over the place, going bot lane on Jax, getting a couple kills. On his Renekton, getting ahead. Bin was feeling himself today. Now, this is like the BLG at max, in my opinion, in games 1 and 3. The loss with Yagao, obviously, that's not BLG at their best. But BLG game 1 and 3, I thought that was them at 100%. And that's a thing that they needed to answer after yesterday and looking terrible. You know, I've always said, and I keep saying, Bin is one of the best tops in the world. He's my favorite top laner. 369 I have ahead of him, but at this point, Bin is my favorite. So to make him MVP should be no surprise to those that are around. As far as G2 is concerned, I mean, disappointing, but like I said, BLG, I expected BLG to beat G2 today, so it's not like a big surprise. Obviously, before the tournament, I projected BLG to be the team that was out, and they came close to being out. Weibo did as well. Hell, going to 3 games against EU, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't have said that, that they would be pushed to the brink after how well LPL did at MSI. The new format, obviously, that video is going to be recorded after this one's done and then uploaded to the channel tomorrow. And that's another discussion in and of itself. But BLG get the job done. They move on. And G2 go home. So NRG is the Western team that makes it to the Final 8. You know, that's obviously another video that'll be Wednesday talking about that. But, you know, it is what it is. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube supporter. And hope to see you again tomorrow.